She's ruining the whole mood again. My mom texted, "Just bring the cupcakes, Sarah." I stared at the message, blinking through fluorescent lights and four drips. My daughter, Ally, was fighting for her life 5 feet from me, tubes in her nose, machines beeping slow and fragile, and my own mother was asking me to pick up frosted cupcakes for my niece's school party. I wrote back, "Mom, I'm in the hospital. Ellie's on life support." Her reply came in seconds. "You always ruin things. My name is Sarah, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever realized that the people who raised you never actually saw you? Not your pain, not your worth, not your humanity." I didn't cry when I read her text. I didn't scream. I just went cold. Like my heart wrapped itself in ice and waited for a storm I hadn't prepared for. I looked at Ellie's little chest rise and fall with the help of machines, and I thought, how did we get here? The answer came sooner than I ever imagined. The next morning, the toxicology report came back. The doctor walked in with a manila folder in his hand, his face drawn careful. "Sarah," he said softly, "there were trace amounts of ethylene glycol in Ellie's system." My brain struggled to catch up. "Wait, antifreeze?" He nodded. "We ran the test twice. It wasn't accidental. Someone gave it to her." I went still. My world blurred around the edges. And then he said the name. My mother's name. "She's listed as a caregiver in the hospital records." The doctor continued. "She was with Ellie the day before the seizures began." My ears rang, but I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just remembered. I remembered the night I left Ellie with Mom so I could pick up my final paycheck from a job I was forced to quit to care for my daughter. I remembered how cold Ellie felt when I got home. I remembered Mom laughing it off. "She's just sleepy." I remembered the baby monitor, the one I'd bought off Amazon for $39.99, the one that recorded audio. I rushed home, yanked it from the drawer, synced the app, hit play, and there it was, crackling then clear. Mom's voice coaxing, "You just need to rest, sweetie. Here, drink this. Granny made it just for you." A clink of glass. Ellie's tiny cough, then silence. My hands didn't shake as I copied the file. They didn't shake when I drove to the precinct. They didn't shake when I handed it to the officer and said, "This is why my daughter's in the ICU." He listened. His eyes widened. He looked at me, not with doubt, but with sorrow. "Ma'am," he said, "we'll handle it from here." And that's how the storm began. Not with thunder, but with a whisper, like justice, softly clearing its throat. They arrested her at Sunday brunch. My brother Jason called, voice cracking between disbelief and rage. Mom was in cuffs at Olive Garden in front of the whole church group. I didn't flinch. He shouted into the phone, "You really called the cops on your own mother?" I whispered back, "She tried to kill my daughter." Jason paused. Then he scoffed, "You're always so dramatic, Sarah. You've always made everything about you." That's when I knew he wasn't going to believe me. None of them were. They were raised by the same woman I was, but somehow they never saw her mask slip. I did, over and over, but they called it exaggeration. They said I was too sensitive, said I twisted things, so I stopped talking. I sat by Ellie's bed for another 7 days. She was still unconscious, her face angelic and pale. The doctors said she was stable, but they couldn't say if she'd ever truly wake up. And every night, the hospital hallway echoed with what-ifs. What if I hadn't left her with Mom? What if I hadn't noticed the signs? What if I'd stayed quiet? But I didn't stay quiet. I played that baby monitor audio over and over, not to torture myself, but to remind myself I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I was right. 2 detectives came to take my statement again on day 4. One of them, Officer Ramos, looked worn down but kind. He said softly, "Sarah, do you know why your mother would want to hurt your child?" I didn't want to say it, but I did. She told me once that Ellie ruined my chances at a real career, that having a daughter with epilepsy and developmental delays was like carrying bricks on my back. She said I'd end up old and broke with a vegetable for a child. Ramos winced. "She's always said things like that," I continued hollow. But no one ever believed me. They said it was just how she talks. That night, Jason messaged me. "We bailed her out. She's coming home. You better fix this before you ruin everything." I laughed out loud in the quiet of that cold hospital room. Fix this. He still thought I was the problem. They still thought she was the victim. But I wasn't afraid anymore because I knew something they didn't. There was more on that monitor. The second clip, when I hadn't sent to police yet. It wasn't just attempted poisoning. It was confession. And if they kept pushing, I'd burn the whole house down. Figuratively, of course. But the foundation was already cracking, and the match was in my hand. The second recording started with laughter. Not mine, not Ellie's, my mother's. That dry, smug cackle I grew up hearing when she won. When she belittled me, manipulated me, broke me down in front of others and said, "It's just a joke. Lighten up." But this wasn't a joke. It was a low voice close to the monitor. If she dies, maybe Sarah can finally go live her big dreams. She won't be tied down anymore. She'll thank me one day. A clink of a glass. A whisper, "Just sleep, little burden." I didn't send that clip to the police. Not yet. I held on to it like a loaded gun. A final bullet in case they came for me again. Because they did come. Jason, my sister-in-law Emily, even Aunt Janice, who hadn't spoken to me in 2 years. They formed a little army of guilt, banging on my door while I sat in the dark beside Ellie's bed. "She's old, Sarah. She didn't mean to hurt anyone. You're being vindictive. Family forgives." I let them yell. I let them cry and threaten and grovel in rage. And then I walked out to the hospital lobby, looked Jason in the eye and said, "You're all blocked. You'll never see me or Ellie again." Emily screamed something behind him, but it turned to static in my ears as I was already done with them. Done begging for love. Done explaining pain. Done proving truth to people who'd rather believe lies. I called a lawyer the next morning. Asked about custody laws, property laws, guardianship filings. Because Mom's name was on some of Ellie's medical paperwork. She'd manipulated her way into emergency contact status over the years. Always playing the supportive grandma in public while tearing me down behind closed doors. I had it all removed. Power of attorney gone. Medical proxy revoked. Emergency contact replaced. I filed a restraining order while Ellie still slept, her body fighting to heal. Then I remembered something else. Something big. My trust fund. My dad had left me a modest trust before he died, a house and a small account he'd protected for me from Mom's control. When Ellie was born, I added her name to it, knowing I might need it for medical care one day. But I'd forgotten something crucial. Mom still had access as a trustee. That's when the dread crawled back in. That's when I checked the account, and there was $42,600 gone, withdrawn in chunks over the past 3 months. Disguised as caregiving costs, home repairs, medical supplements, stolen by the woman who'd called my daughter a burden by the same voice that whispered poison into a cup. I didn't sleep that night, but I didn't cry either. I poured coffee into a chipped mug, opened my laptop, and started collecting everything. Statements, withdrawal notices, text messages, audio recordings, screenshots. I compiled it like a war file because this wasn't just survival anymore. This was war, and I had every weapon I needed. The private investigator I hired didn't flinch when I told him what I needed. Financial fraud, elder manipulation, possible abuse, and theft from a minor's trust, I said, sliding the folder across the desk. He flipped through the pages slowly. "You're not playing around." "I've spent my whole life playing small," I said. "I'm done." He nodded and took the case. While he tracked the money trail, I went to probate court and filed a petition to become Ellie's sole guardian with full legal authority. My mother tried to contest it, claimed I was emotionally unstable, that I couldn't be trusted with big decisions, but she had no idea what I had. I waited until the hearing, waited until her smug little speech in front of the judge about how she did her best for the child and how I pushed family away out of spite. Then I stood up, holding one thing in my hand, the recording, the second one. I asked the judge if I could play it for the court. He agreed. The courtroom went quiet. Just the sound of my mother's voice, clear as daylight. If she dies, maybe Sarah can finally go live her big dreams. She won't be tied down anymore. She'll thank me one day. By the time it ended, you could have heard a pin drop. Even my mother's attorney looked like she wanted to crawl out of her own skin. The judge didn't even deliberate. He banged the gavel and said, full guardianship granted to the mother. Effective immediately. My mother was escorted out for questioning, but that wasn't enough for me. My PI came back with something even better, proof she'd funneled the $42,600 into a joint account she held with Jason. That money was used for a down payment on a vacation rental, a beach house they'd bought together as an investment. And the kicker, they'd listed me as a silent contributor in the loan paperwork, probably hoping I'd never find out. I smiled when I saw it, not because I was surprised, but because now I had both of them. I filed a formal fraud report, turned over every document, every account number, every forged signature, and then I went one step further. I called the IRS. You steal from me, from my child? You pay in blood and taxes. Jason called the next morning, panicked. Why is the IRS asking about a $42,000 cash infusion? What did you do? I didn't answer right away. I looked at Ellie, still in recovery, still fragile, still innocent. Then I said, I did what Mom would never do. I protected my child. He screamed something about destroying the family. I hung up and blocked him too. Because revenge isn't about loud victories. It's about taking your power back quietly, completely, wholly, and watching the people who hurt you scramble for cover as the truth burns down their lies. Jason was the first to lose it. The IRS froze his accounts pending investigation. The beach rental's mortgage defaulted. His credit score plummeted overnight. He messaged me at 3 a.m., "You're ruining my life." I didn't reply. He had already ruined mine. I was just evening the score. Then she was the storm before the collapse. She waltzed into the hospital 2 days later, sunglasses on, hair perfect, like the last few weeks hadn't happened, like her fingerprints weren't all over the crime. She walked straight up to Ellie's bed. I stepped in front of her. "She's sleeping," I said flatly. "I brought a stuffed animal," she cooed. "Ellie loves bunnies." I didn't budge. "You're not allowed here anymore." Her smile faltered just slightly. "Sarah, don't be ridiculous. I'm her grandmother." "No," I said, "you're a threat." I handed her the restraining order, freshly printed with the judge's signature still damp. She stared at it like it was in a foreign language. "You wouldn't." "I already did." That's when she snapped. The rage, raw, ugly, real, spilled out from beneath her designer mask. "All I ever did was clean up after your messes. You got pregnant by a man who vanished and left you holding the bill." I stepped up. "I always do. And this is how you repay me." I stepped closer. "You didn't step up. You stole. You manipulated. You poisoned." She threw the bunny at my chest and stormed out. The nurse watching from the door whispered, "Good for you." 2 hours later, detectives came to the hospital. I signed the final affidavit, gave them full access to the recordings, the bank transfers, the text messages. That afternoon, they arrested my mother at her home. She was wearing pearls and flipping pancakes for Jason's twins when they cuffed her. I didn't watch the footage, but I heard the click of the handcuffs echoed across 3 voicemails she left me later, sobbing, cursing, begging. I didn't listen to them all. Instead, I sat with Ellie. She was finally well enough to sit upright, tubes removed, color returning to her cheeks. She looked up at me and whispered, "Mommy, I had a scary dream." I kissed her forehead. "It's over now," I said. "The monster's gone." I checked my phone one last time before silencing it for good. Jason had posted some ridiculous rant on Facebook about betrayal by family and false accusations, but no one was buying it. The court documents were public. People had started commenting, "Maybe don't steal from your niece," and "She deserved better than both of you." Funny how quiet the world gets when the truth finally roars. My name was no longer the burden in family chats. I was the woman who didn't break, even when everything else did. And for the first time in years, I slept without locking the door. I didn't show up to the court date for their arraignment. I didn't need to. My voice was already in the paperwork, in the evidence, in every silent clip of baby monitor audio that played over the courtroom speakers. But I did sit outside in my car, engine off, watching the world keep spinning while 2 people inside fought to keep their lives from catching fire. Jason was hit with wire fraud, conspiracy, and attempted grand larceny. My mother, reckless endangerment of a minor, elder exploitation, fraud, and when the toxicology report came in, attempted poisoning. She'd been mixing Ellie's pain meds with her own prescription anti-anxiety pills, crushing them into the dosage cups when nurses weren't looking. Said it would help her rest more. That detail shattered something in me I didn't know I still had. I threw up in the parking lot that morning. I cried until I couldn't breathe. And when I finally looked at myself in the mirror, I saw someone I hadn't met before, a mother who could burn a city down to keep her child breathing. That same day, I made the final transfer. Ellie's trust fund, now cleaned of their fingerprints, went into a locked custodial account under a new name. I updated her emergency contacts, changed the locks, sold the old house, the one where I found that damn baby monitor buzzing like a siren under Ellie's crib. We moved into a small but warm apartment by the lake. Nothing fancy, but peaceful. I picked the unit with morning sun. Ellie liked it. She called the view a soft yellow dream. And I finally started working again. Freelance writing. Bit by bit, the fog lifted. One night months later, I got an email from the DA's office. Mom took a plea. Jason didn't. He went to trial. Lost. Got 5 years, 2 years probation. After 18 months, she asked to write a letter to Ellie. The court let her. It came in a white envelope with shaky cursive. I didn't open it. I burned it in the sink while Ellie ate grilled cheese and watched cartoons. Because forgiveness is not always owed, especially to those who gamble with your child's breath. Some nights when it's quiet, I still hear the monitor. Still feel my phone buzz with that text. You always ruin things. But now I smile because I didn't ruin anything. I saved everything that mattered. And I took back what they thought they owned. My future, my dignity, and my daughter's life. The day of sentencing, I stood across the street from the courthouse. Not inside, not in the gallery, but outside beneath the gray, overcast sky, watching people file in like it was just another Tuesday. Jason walked in first. He was thinner. No tailored suit this time, just khakis, a collared shirt, and the slump of a man whose life unraveled before he realized the thread was loose. Mom followed. No pearls, no makeup. Just a beige coat and the hollowed eyes of someone who finally understood she'd gone too far. I didn't flinch. I didn't wave. I just watched. Afterward, a clerk from the DA's office met me on the sidewalk. She handed me the final judgment packet. Inside were the documents, signed and sealed. Guilty, sentenced, restitution ordered. Jason owed me $18,000. Mom another $12,000. I knew I'd never see a dime. Didn't matter. I had already gotten everything I came for because Ellie was home, healthy, smiling again. And 1 week later, she asked if we could bake cupcakes together. Just you and me, Mommy. No one else. We stirred the batter with sticky fingers. She licked the spoon. I let her. As we watched the cupcakes rise in the oven, she turned to me and said, "Is Nana gone forever?" I didn't answer right away because what do you say to a 6-year-old who almost died at the hands of someone who claimed to love her? I knelt down. She's not part of our world anymore. You're safe now. Ellie nodded. That was enough. The next day, I changed my number, deleted the old family group chats, unsubscribed from the guilt, the obligation, the generational dysfunction dressed up as love. I made a new will, set Ellie's guardianship to my best friend Dana. The one who sat in that ICU with me every single night, who didn't ask questions, just showed up with clean socks and takeout and the kind of loyalty my blood relatives never knew how to offer. For the first time in my life, I chose my own family. And that was the final act of revenge. Not anger, not punishment, but peace. Years passed. Jason's name faded into a background check somewhere. I heard she moved into a tiny condo 2 towns over. No one visits. No one cares. Ellie, she's 10 now. She's writing her own stories, reading them aloud to me at bedtime. Last night, she said, "Mommy, you're the bravest person I know." I kissed her forehead and whispered, "I'm only brave because you gave me something worth fighting for." Because sometimes revenge isn't fire and fury. Sometimes it's a child's heartbeat in the quiet, a clean kitchen, a name cleared, and a life reclaimed. Last week, I got a letter in the mail with no return address. Inside was a folded photo of my mother, gray hair, prison-issued shirt, eyes hollow as winter, and on the back, her handwriting thin and trembling. I miss her. I think about her every day. I sat with that for a while, not angry, not sad, just still, because it's strange how people will burn down everything around them and call it love. Stranger still, how they're always surprised when you stop letting them light the match. I didn't write back. I took the photo, the letter, and the envelope and slid them into a Ziploc bag. Then I walked to the lake with Ellie. She was collecting pebbles again. The wind danced in her curls. I dropped the bag into the water and watched it sink slowly, swallowed up like all the guilt, manipulation, and betrayal that had tried to steal our story. It didn't deserve a monument, only silence. That night, Ellie asked why I looked lighter. I told her, because we're finally free. And we are free from their voices, free from the weight of pretending it didn't happen, free from thinking blood has to mean bond. Today, my daughter woke up laughing. And I made pancakes with strawberries, just the way she likes them, cut into little hearts. She looked at her plate and beamed. You always make the best days. Not birthdays, not holidays, just days, ordinary ones, safe ones. That was the justice. Not a courtroom, not a prison sentence, but a quiet morning filled with laughter and light. They stole years from me, but I rebuilt them one moment at a time. Now I live in a home filled with love, not apologies, with honesty, not eggshells, with cupcakes that never come with strings. Some people spend their whole lives trying to tear you down so they can feel tall. But when you walk away, completely fully, without looking back, they're left yelling into silence. And that silence, that's your peace. That's your revenge. That's your beginning.